So when did Zoom just become the de facto video conferencing standard? I don't know when this happened because before all this was going on, I thought that Zoom was just, I guess, a random piece of software that no one had ever really heard of, and it was just kind of the thing that, there we go, that's stable, that my university was using, and basically no one else was using. So I had assumed that people were mainly using Slack and things like that, because I'm pretty sure Slack you can do video conferencing. I know you can do audio because it's basically Discord, but I didn't realize that Zoom had just become, I guess, the de facto standard that people were using to do video conferencing. Now, this video isn't going to be about me, I guess, explaining why I think Zoom is the devil. If you want to hear about that, go check out Luke's video on it. He's done a much better job than I could ever do on it. So, obviously Zoom has a ton of security problems, and so do Discord and things like that. But what I wanted to talk about today was mainly, I guess, my experience actually using this software, and also the other sort of software that I've had to use in place of Zoom when Zoom just hasn't been working properly. So I don't know exactly how it's structured. I'm going to assume that you can either connect through like some Zoom servers, or you can run your own instance of Zoom and connect like that. I'm not too sure. I would assume that you could probably run your own instance of it. At least that's what it seems like my university's doing. They're constantly complaining that it's dropping out. Now, I don't know if this is my university servers, because generally my uni is pretty stable with stuff. Yeah, it's going to have its dropouts every couple of months, but generally it's going to be pretty stable. But it seems like with Zoom in particular, it's actually just constantly dropping out. Now, Zoom itself actually has some weird usability errors as well. Actually has a lot of really weird design decisions to begin with. So the first thing with it is that when you join, it's actually kind of a struggle to work out how to turn your mic on. Now, this isn't just me being a boomer not knowing how to turn your mic on. What you do is you have to actually join the chat, turn your mic on to actually even hear anyone speaking, and then you have to confirm that your mic, that's the mic you want to use. Then it's probably going to switch to a different mic than the mic you actually want, so then you're going to have to switch to your other mic. It's a little bit of a pain, but I can ignore that. The weird problem though is that I don't think you can hear audio until you turn your mic on. Now, this might just be me being a complete idiot, but I don't think you can hear audio without turning your mic on. I don't understand why. I don't know if it's the same with video either. I think you can still see video without turning your webcam on, but we didn't do the video conferencing part, we just used it for audio, which really there was no point even using Zoom at that point. If you're just going to do audio, there's literally no reason to use Zoom. You could use tons and tons of other services. But the other weird problem with Zoom, and this is why some people like it, particularly in the university, but I think this is a really dumb idea. So you can join a Zoom chat without doing any authentication. So I assume you can probably set up authentication, but by default, you just create it's similar to the way that like Google Hangouts work. You just create a link and people can join it. So if you just wanted to mess with people, they send you the link, you post it on 4chan. There's nothing to say, do you want this person to join the chat? Do you want to only allow... Yeah, basically there's no way to set up user accounts, at least from what I've seen. Maybe there is, but at least the way that I've used it, we've just set up a link and then joined like that, which obviously is a really bad idea if you actually want people who only should be in the chat to be in the chat. But besides that, Zoom, it hasn't been great, but it hasn't been terrible either. Now, the place where it gets really weird is that one time someone suggested that we use Mozilla Hubs. Now, if you don't know what Mozilla Hub is, basically I think it's a Mozilla project, so I'm going to assume that it's open source, but it's basically like VR chat, and this is why it's a terrible, terrible idea to do video conferencing in here. It has positional audio, so if you have someone who is really annoying and doesn't want to just stand still, it gets really, really difficult to hear anything they're saying, because I had one dude who I talked to on it, and for some reason he just had to just keep moving around, and I don't think you understand how annoying this is when you're trying to actually listen to someone, because he was trying to explain some technical stuff, but for some reason just wouldn't bother to stand still. He was like, oh, I'm going to show you this thing and this thing and this thing, and it can do like a bunch of junk that doesn't really matter. It's a weird choice for a video conferencing service. I don't know if I'm ever going to go back to it of my own volition, but I guess it it's fine on the chance that Zoom is breaking. Now, the other one we had to use was Skype for Business. Now, this didn't last very long, and there's a very, very good reason for this. So, Microsoft, for some reason, they have got Skype for Business split up as 2 separate services. So you've got Skype, and then you've got Skype for Business. They're not the same thing. They're different accounts. They're different applications. All of this stuff is different. I don't know why. I don't know why Skype for Business isn't just like a business plan for Skype, but whatever. Now, the problem is that, 1, there is no Skype for Business client on Linux. That doesn't surprise me. But 2, the web client doesn't work. And it's because Microsoft doesn't know how to design a web client. So the plugin you install is dependent on your operating system. So if you're on Windows, if you're on macOS, it's fine, because there are plugin versions for those operating systems, but not for Linux. So unlike literally every other browser extension that exists on the face of the planet, it's not dependent on the actual web browser, it's dependent on your operating system. I don't know why you would ever design a web application like this. This is the dumbest idea for designing a web application. It should be dependent on the browser. That's just basic common sense if you're designing something like this. I don't know why. Actually, I kind of do know why. It's because they don't want people using Linux. But come on, what are you doing? Or even, why do I even need, actually that's another thing. Why do I even need a web extension to use your basic video conferencing app in a web browser? There's no reason I should need that. I'm not sure what it's supposed to achieve, but it could just be done in the web application like everyone else does. But Microsoft just has to be different. It's kind of their thing. And I did mention Slack before. So Slack, if you don't know, is basically, I guess, startup Discord. It's the Discord client that, it's not a Discord client. It basically looks like Discord though. It's basically the thing that every single startup company uses because Slack is just the cool thing people use. And you know what? Slack, it's fine. It has some weird limits on free accounts, so I do prefer using Discord over it, even though Discord is the client for gamers. It doesn't matter. In the end, it's going to be you're going to be using it for text chat, you're going to be using it for voice chat. Both Discord and Slack use it. Both of them are terrible security holes and invade your privacy, so it doesn't really matter which one you use. In the end, I would prefer to use Discord though. And that's because of the weird free limits that Slack has. So I believe you can't send more than 2,000 messages in a Slack chat without them basically forcing you to pay for it. So I don't know why it's set up like that. It's just, I guess it's just to force companies to actually pay for Slack, because otherwise it's literally no different from Discord. And then we go over to Discord. I'm sure most of you guys have used Discord, except for obviously guys who really hate it because it's proprietary software and it's bad for security and privacy and all that sort of stuff. There's plenty of reasons not to use Discord, but Discord and Slack are basically the same thing. There's not really too much difference between the two. Now, personally, I don't really want to be using any of this software. Honestly, I don't know what the best solution would be to do video conferencing. I know there are some open source solutions, but I don't think that anyone is really going to be switching over to, what was the one that Luke talked about? Talks or something like that? I don't think anyone's going to switch over to that because these universities, these big companies, they all have contracts with Zoom or Slack or things like this, and there's no reason for them to specifically switch over. Even though it's a mess to use and it's a security hole, privacy hole, all of that stuff, I don't think anyone's going to really bother switching over. So I guess for the time being, we're going to have to deal with using this stuff. I guess honestly, none of the video conferencing solutions created by these big corporations are actually good choices. So I don't know what. Honestly, I would be happy just to do phone calls. Can we just let's just get a bunch of phones, put them along a desk, and then call each other like that. You just call each of the individual people in the chat. You don't need video. I don't know. That's one other thing. I don't know what the obsession with doing video conferencing is. What's the harm in just doing audio conferencing? I know there's some things where you might need to actually show like screen sharing. So that's one thing for why you wouldn't want to just use a straight voice chat. But what's the obsession with doing face cams when you're doing conferencing? I don't really see any benefit of this. I know some people are probably going to say, but there's some benefit of seeing the people you're talking, seeing the people you're talking to. But I don't really get it. I don't know. Definitely there's some value in being able to screen share, that's for sure, because you might need to show like some slides or whatever other junk you need to show. That I can see some definite value in. So, yeah, I don't know. This video kind of became a bit rambly towards the end. It didn't really have too much else to say besides that I don't really like any of the video conferencing solutions. I don't like particularly any of the audio solutions. I guess I kind of just have to deal with them until all of this stuff is over though. At least I don't have to use them too often. I kind of feel bad for the people who are working in like big companies and people who actually work for the university who have to use this on a daily or multiple times a day basis. At least there is one benefit of doing this conferencing online rather than doing it in person. You don't have to wear pants if you don't want to. So if you just want to rock up in because I guess you have still have a face cam, so you're going to put a nice dress shirt on to make sure you look the part. But besides that, you don't actually have to wear pants. If you don't stand up, no one's going to know. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't really have much else to say in this. It's kind of just me rambling now. I feel like this is actually a nice place to record. I found this walking track the other day. You might have seen that video where I was talking about how I'm not the same person as Luke. So I found this track the other day, and I think it's a really nice place, and there's a nice place to sit down here. It's actually just like a wooden rail that I'm sitting on, so I'm hoping it doesn't break and I die. But hey, if I fall and die, then maybe this video will get lots of clicks. I'm not going to get any of the money for it, but maybe we'll get lots of clicks. So I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to talk about. I'm kind of just rambling about nothing at this point, so I'll just cut back to myself at home to read out my patrons. A special thank you goes out to Andrew, Road, LQ, Larry, and Zilver who helped make this show possible. So if anyone else wants to support the channel, there'll be a link to my Patreon down below, so feel free to go check that out. I've also got a Discord, so there'll be a link to that down below as well as some other social links. And lastly, I've got my alternate video platform, so it'll be my BitTube and my library. So feel free to check those out if you want to see my videos on a platform that isn't YouTube. So I think that's pretty much everything for me, and I'm out.